So, the final topic I had lined up for tonight is another, well, is it low tech or is it ultra high tech? Are we talking about copper chisels or are we talking about terabytes of optical memory storage? That level of sophistication. Because we're talking about ancient Egypt.
Oh,
We are going to be discovering the business secrets of the ancient pharaohs tonight.
oh,
Maybe. Maybe one or two. We might. I don't know.
okay.
Well, so they did some pretty fantastic stonemasonry, stonework in ancient
Yeah,
Egypt. As you know, they've
yep.
got the Sphinx,
Amazing.
the pyramids. Those are gigantic. Then they've got
All of it.
smaller things that have perhaps even more impressive details to them that people don't know as much about, like the temples of
Yeah,
in Karnak, the Temple of Hathor, where just the amount of detail that they were able to carve out of these granite slabs, it's just like, how did they do it? What tools
right,
did they use? How did they even make a gigantic granite box to drill holes into on the top to, you know, put handles?
right.
Well, we'll talk about this. First off is the drilling. How did they drill into the stone?
Yeah,
Well, this was a big argument that has been going on for a while, but this was definitely a big
for a
argument
long
like
time.
100 years ago, 200 years
Yeah,
ago, really. In 1883, this was a hot topic. I've got this article. This article, originally written in 1983, so it is talking about something 100 years ago. Now, more than 100 years ago.
right.
This unresolved question of the drilling was raised by you've got a disagreement between
Oh,
two eminent Egyptologists
right.
in 1883, A. Lucas and Sir Flinders Petrie, and their argument revolved around a difficult and important question, namely, how did the ancient Egyptians drill granite? Because it's very hard to do. We have to use highly treated carbonite or diamond tipped drill bits. That's the only thing that we can use, other than what we have invented this, well, in the past, I don't know when this thing started, but water jets are at least most of my lifetime. I remember these things existing. I don't know, don't know how old water jet technology is, but high pressured water jets that cut stuff. We've had that for a while. Not since 1883, but for a while. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So this is called lapidary, drilling into stone. Lapidary technology.
Whoa.
How are they doing it? Well, they can't
How
use
did
copper,
that?
bronze. Bronze, it won't cut basalt, dorite, granite, quartzite, schist. Uh, Now, even finely ground quartz sand with, wet sand and then
Right.
grinding it, that's not enough on its own to do granite if you're using like
Yeah,
copper.
right.
And they know that they knew because of drill marks that some of these drills were tubular drills. So they'd put some sort of sharp cylinder and it would drill a big hole, drill a big circle, and then they'd, I guess, chisel out the center or something. I
Right.
don't really know how these drills work. Uh, I don't think they do, but they had the tubular drills with cutting points of emery. This is what Petrie thought. Emery. I'm not quite sure what emery is. Emery boards, right? I don't think emery boards you get the store even have that in it. So it's grains. It's just like sandpaper, basically. Is what he's talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah. Okay. So he's saying a fixed point. I don't know what all this stuff is. What? So the question is, uh, this is interesting. Did they use? I'm trying to. I hate it when I lose where I am in the article because then it has this one paragraph where it explains both of their positions. So somewhere it says essentially Petrie thought they used diamond tips. Petrie thought they used diamond tips, and Lucas thought, well, they probably didn't. It was probably just they found a really good abrasive wet sand mixture. They found a really good grinding medium that we don't know about. And then
You don't
with
know
that
about.
the copper tools were enough to do the job.
There you go.
So in 1883, they did some tests. They did some experimental archaeology. 1983. What am I? Did I say? Anyway, 100 years after this controversy began, this magazine writes about an experiment that they did in 1983 at the Cleveland Museum, I guess. And they tried it. They got big close-up photos of the inside of these drill holes with a scanning electron microscope, so they could see exactly what the sides of the drilled area looked like. And they had these concentric lines, they say. And so however they did it, it produced these lines. And so they did a big test then to see if they could produce drill holes with these lines, or what it would take to get drill holes with these concentric circles going down.
Huh. Crazy.
And so they found no, you can't do them dry. And you can't just use wet sand. Can't
Huh.
just use wet sand.
Huh.
But if the abrasive you use is emery in olive oil, then it works. It produces these.
Wow.
It produces the telltale concentric circles. And if you use diamond, it does it as well.
Wow.
So, but you have to use a lubricant. It can't just be wet sand.
Wow.
So, but this just answers. So they could have done these drills with sort of an olive oil mixture that they. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that's what they found. But this is just talking about these drill holes, which let me show you, the audience. At the top here of this box, this big fancy stone granite box. I don't know if this is a sarcophagus or not. I doubt it. It's got these holes drilled into the top where the lid is, and so it's most likely that these holes are drilled into the top because they're where handles are affixed to
Right.
remove the lid if you need to. And so that's just explaining how these holes were made. It's not explaining anything about how the rest of the rest of the box was cut out,
Right.
and then all of these fancy designs on the side were laid in, and all that stuff. Doesn't explain all that. But so what does consensus archaeology say, though? Well, they stick to the old. They only had these tools. That's what they had to use. That's what they must have used.
Yep.
And they were just smarter than us in how they could use these tools. They knew more about what the tools could do and what they could get out of them, I guess, with certain mixtures of powders and
Right.
liquids. They used dolerite pounders. So they used big stone pounders to pound at the rock to sort of pulverize the rock bit by bit. And they used copper saws and copper drills and quartz. That's what it said. That's what the consensus archaeology suggests. There's no mystery here. Even though we can't make anything this nice with these tools, they must have. So that's how they did it. They just did it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We've got conjecture of alternative methods, though. Here's just one little thread from Reddit. Did the ancient Egyptians use water jet cutters to cut stone? The main poster here, the OP says the conventional explanation, blah 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 blah. But this seems inadequate to account for the smoothness and accuracy of some of the stone cuts, especially on the hard stones like granite and basalt. A more radical theory is that they used water jet cutters to cut the stone with high pressure water streams. And this would require more advanced hydraulic technology than they think they might have had in Egypt. Nozzles, pipes, valves, and pumps of all kinds would be needed. That's true. So, how did they do it? Could they have used water jets? And he links to a water jet getting used, so we'll look at that in a second. But here we go. Here's the water jet. I'll show it for the audience. They're shooting a water jet on a rock. 60,000 psi.
Wow.
And it just goes right over the rock, cutting completely through this good 6, 7, 8 inch thick slab of rock. Takes them about a few minutes. They're cutting a shape into the whole rock, cutting it out.
Like butter.
Took them about 6 minutes. And cuts through the whole thing. Now, what you'll notice, though, of course, is that the water cutter sits atop a pool of water. And it's got these grates sitting in the water that you put the thing you want to cut into on top of. And so this is what they got to do. They have to put water under the water cutter, under the water jet, so it doesn't start slicing through the floor and all that stuff. because it's very powerful. And see, this is what one guy said here: a water jet wouldn't work because some of the inner corners are too delicate. Couldn't have done it. But furthermore, a water jet is incapable of controlled depth cuts, he says. They say. I don't know. It basically goes all the way through. Like, even in modern technology, we struggle to stop the water jets from cutting through the ground below it. That's why they have the water pools below them with specially angled fins to deflect, and those they need replacing too. The grate, got to replace the grate as well sometimes, because it's cutting through that sometimes.
Right.
Well, someone replied to that though, and they said, if the jets were cutting at a lower speed than at the speed of the jets of the modern jets, corner cutting would be more feasible. He also says that there's overcuts on some of the ancient monuments, like ancient Egyptian statues, which are too deep to have been done manually. And also, if they were cutting it with a big saw, they would have stopped before they got that far. So it suggests that these overcuts, they were using some kind of cutting technology where it goes faster than they have to turn it off or something. It's going fast, and it's something that has to get turned off, which is not a manual saw that two or three guys are just holding. Because if you see the cut done, you raise your head, you go, all right, we're done. They're not going to keep going for like minutes to make the cut all deeper. Right? It doesn't make sense. Why would there be such dramatic overcutting? Anyway, because it's true. I saw some of these overcuts, and it's like, it looks like they were just, looks like it was when you're cutting with a bandsaw and you just go too far because it's like, it takes longer to shut off than I thought. That's how accidents happen. Remember.
That's how accidents happen.
Remember to wear your gear. Okay.
Wear your gear, your safety gear.
So like I said, it's true that with water jets, you're going to have some kind of big pool of water to have under it. I think that's probably true. But that doesn't rule it out. That doesn't rule out that they were using it then. Because, my friend, they had a channel of the Nile that they had diverted that went right by where the pyramids were built. There's an ancient branch of the Nile that's dried up now, but in pyramid times, it was there. And they built let's see here. Hard to find where everything is in these. Here we go. Scientists had already thought that Egyptians may have brought the stones to the site by water. This was a big hypothesis, and this is how they did it. They floated these stones down or up the Nile to the worksite, and then there was this canal, kind of like harbor that they had built right by.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
A harbor built next to the pyramids, and they had the builders had carved intricate waterways near the port. So they built a canal off this channel and a harbor to get the stones to where they were building the pyramids, quarried from much farther away, I guess. Now, So they've got this big harbor. They've got this giant. Well, I don't know how giant it is, but it's you'd think it's pretty substantial artificial lake right by where the pyramids are. Well, that sounds like a big enough pool of water to run a water jet on. To me,
Whoa. That's a big
you
what?
yeah you build a especially deep area of this waterway. You design it so you got stones floating down this way, and then I don't know what you can do. You can just sort
Right.
of hold them in one little space. Then you got some crew with like some weird, uh,
Going like
water cannon.
there's
This water cannon it's on rails or whatever, and you're shoving it over
yeah,
the hole where the stone is,
right.
and it's cutting through it. Could be that these stones they just cut them big and loose, and then they size them up when they get there to the work site in the harbor, and they finalize them with the water jet. Then they haul them up and they polish them down. So
Cinnamon.
could have been because
Oh,
they had this big waterwork, this big
yep.
lake
Yep.
coming off of the Nile that they'd built
Uh,
to transport all those big stone blocks that the pyramids are made out of. So they already
it's
have this
nuts.
artificial lake that they've made, and it
Nuts.
doesn't seem if they had the ability to do some kind of water jet cutting. I can't think of a better place than some
Right.
place like that. I don't know. You'd have to make them stay in one thing while you're like pushing a thing over it. That seems to be.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how hard that would really be to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that I think experimental archaeologists should think about that. It's maybe we can think about how to get the PSI up there with
Right.
some of the metals and materials that they would have had access to. I'm not
Yeah.
suggesting they had all these space age technology, really, but
Right.
water pressure, it's not that magical.
No.
There's numbers of ways to amp it up. I think,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's all about because movement.
Pressure.
You can if something's moving, you can use that. You can convert that movement into pressure
Yep.
with various methods of whatever. Shoving
Pump
things,
system.
pumps. Some the water column falls. It's pushing on another thing that pushes into this, and you know, it's feeding back on the water and results in higher pressure. Uh, they might have just had really good, you know, imaginative engineering and
Right.
regular kinds of rubbers and gaskets and stuff. Egyptian level technology, but
Glues.
maybe
Some
they
type
knew,
of water resistant glue.
they had figured something out about aqueducts and multiplying pressure to the extent
Right.
where they could generate a stream of water that would cut through stuff. Maybe it wasn't 60,000. Maybe it took longer than a few minutes to cut through a giant block of granite. But I'd imagine that if it cuts it at all, it would cut faster than doing the saw thing.
Right.
Yeah. And it would produce a situation where, especially if it's like you're outside of it, controlling some nozzle, and the stone is in the water. That would definitely
Yeah.
create a situation where you could do a lot of overcutting and that sort of thing, where it's like precise but also inaccurate. And here's another thing. I got one more thing to talk about with this. Is that it's a cold cutting process. Like I've got this article here about from a water jet company talking about some of
Okay.
the benefits of using water jet cutting. And the benefits are all of these, some of them are these amazing things that they notice. It just happens to be with how the stonework is done in these temples and these megaliths in ancient Egypt. Is no cracking. They can etch onto the surface of the stone. It's
Right.
accurate.
Wow.
But the big thing is that there's no cracking, and it doesn't make
No
marks.
crack.
It doesn't make extra marks. It's smooth.
That's good.
And so what they notice, because this is a big thing that they talk about in the Egyptology stuff, is how the cuts don't have any cracks or blemishes or anything. Well, you could get that with this, I guess. This is the blemish-free, no cracking cuts. That's one of the benefits of cutting stone with a water jet machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't. This it's not conclusive by any means, but
Not
it's
consistent by any
tantalizing.
means, but
It's
it's
tantalizing.
plausible.
They might have been the most amazing craftsmen and artisans of all time, or they just had a
I
few.
I agree.
Well, they could have been.
I
I
agree,
mean,
man.
they were pretty good craftsmen and artisans, true. But it could be that they simply had an extra set of water technology that, for whatever reason, hasn't preserved. We don't really know about it. It's not evident in the
Yeah.
archaeological record. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot we don't know about how they built these things. Really.
Right. Really.
Yeah. So that's all I wanted to get to. I guess that's about
Sweet.
it for
Nice.
ancient Egypt this week. But I know we talked about it briefly last week, so I wanted to look it all up and do a big segment
Oh,
on it.
yeah.
I don't think it's impossible. I think they had a lot of
It's
fun
possible.
stuff that they worked with. They supposedly had some kind of cell phone thing too. That's what the Ankh was. They said
Yeah.
some of these theories is that the Ankh was a like a telephone radio thing,
Huh.
walkie-talkie, PDA, personal assistant with the weather
There's a little
news,
assistant.
or at the very least, it was some kind of communication device where you could call your friends and stuff, and
Call up your local friend, man,
yeah.
with the
Or,
unk.
well, I guess they carried this around for some reason. It's like they talk about carrying these onks around, and it's like, why?
Maybe it was the key to waterway.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been the keys to machinery. It's true. Mhm. Well, I think we're gonna take a break right about now.
Okay.
I've got I've got a cool